Well, hello and welcome back to the Debrief, hosted in partnership between British Rowing and Junior Rowing News. I'm Ed Evans. I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by Lola Anderson, Jack Beaumont and Karen Bennett. Over the next few minutes, we're just going to run down some of the racing from World Cup 3 in Lucerne that's just wrapped up this afternoon, having a little look at the GB performances this weekend. But Jack, coming to you, first of all, I'm looking down the medal table in front of me now. It's a pretty strong performance from the GB team this weekend, sort of surprisingly so, some might say. What's this saying about sort of what's changed at Caversham and what's working?
I wouldn't say it's surprising at all, actually. I think even last year when the team didn't get the results they wanted in Tokyo, it wasn't that there wasn't a strong team and good people. There were great people, just the racing's tight. And I think there's been some changing in coaching structure, some new athletes in, but by the sounds of things, and I'm on the outside now, a really great attitude among all the athletes that they're quite supportive of each other and really want to do things really well. So I think they're rowing a lot better as a team than we all were a year ago, and it's great to see them kind of, last year maybe always being half a length behind to now being a length up a lot of the time. It's small changes that make a huge difference. So it was, I was watching today, just loving it, watching every crew smashing it.
Absolutely. And so Lola, I guess the same question for you, but perhaps the view more from the inside of what's going on. What without sort of giving away the state secrets, what's changed and what's sort of driving this success forward?
Yeah, I guess so. Coming in new, there was quite a lot of change with just the coaching setup, and from the women's side, when Andy came in, he was very vocal about what sort of environment he wanted to create. Like Jack was just saying, it was more about everyone trains hard and everyone's going to work themselves technically, physically, and he really wanted us to sort of build mentally. So part of that is like really trying to push yourself and sort of, I guess, really sort of build that like mental depth. But then a huge part of that was how can we sort of make a community within our squad at Caversham. So on the women's side, at least, there's just been a really, really big effort to just try and make that training enjoyable, support each other, and just pick each other up when we're struggling. And I'm sure we always do that, but that's what Andy really stands for at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of diving in now to sort of some of the results and racing, Karen. There was no women's 8 out on the water this weekend, but there were 2 women's 4s from GB, both of which have performed fantastically well. Obviously, with the A crew getting a gold, that's a pretty strong performance.
Yeah, it was a great performance, and they the boat that got the gold medal absolutely nailed it. They went out, and I think they were so close to the world record. I think they actually got a World Cup best time, and I think that is a statement in itself, just to go out and really put that out there without having like a nip and tuck performance. Like, that was them themselves. Essentially, they were racing against everyone else there, but they were way ahead and they were just going for it. So that was really good to see. And obviously the other boat as well that raced, they were in the B final, but they're up and coming, and you could see they performed last weekend at the Henley Royal Regatta, and it just shows the depth that's there. If you team up the 2 4s, or you put the pair in there as well, like, you see what a good performance they can all bring out of each other. So I think it's really positive, and it's a great start for the season and the Olympiad going forward, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And you sort of touched on World Cup best time there. Lola, coming back to you, Imogen Grant in the single, world best time in the lightweight sculls. That's a brilliant marker to lay down.
Yeah, it's huge. I think everyone knows that she trains remotely, or has been to begin with, at least this year, and she's recently come back to Caversham. And it's been really cool just to sort of, watch how she cracks on, watch how she trains. And she's been really up for sort of getting stuck in with this program and sort of in that sense, rejoining a community group. So from both sides, like, I think we've all really enjoyed having her come back. But yeah, it's impressive to watch her row, to say the least. She's a bit of a beast.
And Jack, we've got a long history of success in the lightweight categories in Great Britain. And I think the lightweight double on the women's side is testament to that this weekend. Is this just a sign that we're going to keep pushing and pushing in that boat class as we head towards Paris?
I hope so. I was so disappointed for Emily and Imogen in Tokyo. They missed out on the bronze medal by like the tiniest margin. It was like they had done everything right, trained so hard and so well, and missed out like that. And so I'm sure they've all come back with sort of bit between their teeth, and it's great to see them winning. But now they've got a quite interesting thing where Imogen's obviously smashing it in the single, got well best time, but the double's winning. And what they're going to do there, and because Maddie Arlett has smashed it this season to be winning the World Cups like that. Like I remember, and I had quite bad signal on my phone when I was watching it today, so I couldn't see her face at the end. But her face at the end of the Belgrade one, like you could just see how much it meant to her. And they're going to have interesting times now, I guess, figuring out what they're going to do with the three of them to prioritise the Olympic class. But
absolutely. And so, talking of Olympic class boats, there's one boat that often takes that blue ribbon, which is the 8. And Karen, the men today in the 8 have just sort of outperformed everyone, and by significant margins, taking that gold medal today. Again, a very impressive row, and to come up against perhaps some of the slightly more heavyweight nations that we haven't seen so far this season, to beat Australia and to keep pushing forward is a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was awesome. They've been rowing really well together, and there's quite a good group of guys in that 8 that are really kind of striving for more, and just some great personality as well. And it's really good. Like when an 8 goes well, it's just amazing because you've got so many people that are on the same page. And I think, well, for me, I can kind of see that on the outside, how well they're all doing it for each other. And I think it's fantastic. Normally you see the Germans are normally quite good and they're up there with them. But yeah, like GB, they're out there and they're doing it for themselves, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's great to see that 8 back on top, and like you say, watching them today, I think you can tell from the outside when an 8 is just going, and it looked today just like it was miles ahead of everyone else, which is exactly what I want to see. Really great stuff. Moving to the other end of the spectrum, Lola, in the singles, Graham Thomas, another gold for GB. That must have meant the absolute world to him.
Yeah, I mean, Graham's quite a cool guy. He comes off water training. You can ask him, how was that? It's like, yeah, it was good, or, it was okay. It was average. And watching him row and watching him race in that sense, like, that mentally, like, he's got it sort of, mentally, like, that he's cool on the start line. Like, he's confident in himself, but watching everyone come away with wins and results like that today, like, is just so comforting, because it's just such a big confidence boost when you're doing all this training to know that it's working, you're building in the right direction, and hopefully in that sense Europeans and worlds can continue to move in that direction. So I feel like everybody coming home on the plane today is going to have quite a lot to smile about.
And Graham, he just like the time he did as well, 6:40. That is shifting. That is really fast. Like he is a racer. He'll tell you that he's a racer. But like 6:40, like that is. I think Alan Campbell maybe did quicker than that twice, but not many British scullers have gone that fast, and that's really, really amazing.
Do you think that's probably a PB for Graham then?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be disappointed that people like Ollie Ziedler, is it Ziedler or Ziedler, weren't there to race? Or do you think he's just going to like be focusing internally and be like 6:40, quick time for me, happy with that, move on? Or do you think he'll be like, I wish that someone else was here in that sense?
But it's that thing, you can only race who's there, right? And he'll have the chance to race them all in a month in the European Championships.
Yeah.
It's going to be great racing when we get there. Really, really fantastic racing. Jack, sticking with you for a second, looking at the other men's sculling events, starting with the quad, just to discuss very briefly, perhaps not where they wanted to be, but do you think there's sort of headroom for them to keep pushing?
It's absolutely not where they want to be. Like they're going to be really, really unbelievably disappointed. Like the reason everyone trains full time is to try and win medals, and they finished in last place, which they'd have hated. And I can imagine, because they finished on Friday, they'd have spent Saturday and Sunday watching everyone racing and watch everyone do so well. They'll feel awful right now, I'm sure. And I feel for them, because no one wants to feel like that. And now I don't know how their boat's really going in day to day, but I think they need to work out, because there's 4 great athletes in there, how they make sure that they're getting more, they're greater than the sum of their parts, rather than sort of being 4 good athletes in the boat together. Make sure it's a quad that's moving really fast together, and they can do it. Like, all of them are great guys and they can do it, but I think there's some probably quite small changes that will go a long way, because where they are at the moment, that is not where anyone wants to be.
Absolutely. I can't claim to have rowed to such a high level, but I remember my coach always telling me when I learned to run a quad that you have to be one machine, and that four great scarlets won't cut it. So I'm sure they'll be focusing on that and coming together as we head towards the Europeans. But Jack, again, just sticking with you, the other men's sculling boat in action, the double, a 5th place finish. What do you think their thoughts are going to be on that?
They'll have wanted to get a bronze medal, I'm so sure, because I think they are so close, and the doubles are so tight. I remember racing a double a couple of times, and you see it when John and Graham, or John and Johnny in the past, any of these recent doubles. In the semi-finals, it's like often there's sort of 5 boats in each one that could make the final, and so the Saturday is so tough already. So to make it to the final in the double, it's always like savage. And then today, I thought they were good. I thought they were really good, but the Croatians just took it out like they always do, and a few crews did. And I think for Matt and George, what you can just see in the races is that in the middle K, they were basically just sort of half a second off where they want to be the whole way through the race, which meant they had a bit to try and catch up. But that's really encouraging, because half a second you can find in each 500 meters. It's only a tiny bit per stroke. Like, they can get there, and they will get there, because they're really quite determined and strong guys. So I think it's probably quite a good thing, even though they'll be annoyed they didn't get a medal today. They'll be able to go back. They've got a month, probably quite a hard training block now before the European Championships, I think, and then definitely a very hard block from then to the World Championships. There's a lot of improvement to make.
Yeah, I really agree with what you said, Jack, about the double being like a really close race. Like, I always think that when it's the heats and even the semi-finals, it's literally like 2 seconds. You can be in the A final, or you can literally be in the B final, and you just never know, because it's the 3 spots that are in the semi-finals. So I think it's really good for them, because they're quite a young double, aren't they? And to get that racing experience and just how savage it is to race in that event, I think it's going to be really good for them and do them the world of good coming up into the season.
Such a brutal way to be introduced to senior racing. An absolute baptism of fire. Just chuck you in the deep end. But yeah, they've already definitely learned so much, and they're just going to continue with that, like, every race they do. And who knows, like, whether or not it's a project that they continue for the long haul, or it's just this year or whatever. Like, it's still going to give them so much. So
I think it's great to see them, though, because I remember those guys as under 23s, and so they sort of really have grown into senior rowing quite just seamlessly. Like, the way they've turned up, and just World Cup 1, World Cup 3, just been like, in the A final both times. At Henley, so close to winning, actually. Like, really, really great. I think one thing they might want to tinker in their race plan is, like, that you see them always have a very strong last 500 meters and not quite get to where they want to be. Next race, I'd rather see them be where they want to be in blow and finish in the same place, in a way, because then you've really been. It's horrible to think, if we'd had an extra 100 meters, we might have got there, or any of this. So I think next time I'd like to see them kind of push themselves into medal position, and maybe it won't work, but at least you've been there.
Got to give it a go. But Lola, one crew that definitely did find themselves in medal position this weekend was the women's quad. Just a great result. How do you think they'll be feeling? I imagine happier than some of the others.
No, I think they're going to be so happy with that. So in the build up into Belgrade, we'd spent a little bit of time in the quads and basically no time in the doubles. So coming into Belgrade, we wanted the quad to be the boat that we hit, and we were not disappointed, but a little confused, maybe a bit conflicted with our results. So I know coming into World Cup 3, we were all quite excited about the prospect that we were going to be able to prioritise just the quad and see what type of result we could get out of it. But we weren't really sure where we were going to sort of sit. Like, we thought pieces were going well, and so there was a lot of excitement like building into it. So I'm just really happy to see that, despite there being like changes and turbulence on the way there, that we got the result that we kind of were hoping for. The Chinese, although they still won, I feel like hopefully the girls are thinking that maybe there's a chance to sort of get close to them, maybe one day try and take them on. But so cool just to watch them absolutely smash it, and I know they're all really, really happy right now, so I'm really happy for them.
It's a good sign. Karen, just to pick up on that point, last week at Henley on the men's side, we saw some really, really strong Chinese sculling. Do you think that, as I said, that's the gap that the girls can close? Is that sort of pushing up to China, who are leading the field at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I think they definitely can do that. And I know the training that the girls are doing at the moment, and it's just like that if they're going to do it, they're going to do it on that training. So I just think, yeah, just go for it. There's nothing really stopping them. And I think as well, the group of girls that's there, they can chop and change it, and it's still going to go well, which is good. And to have that confidence and that depth within the sculling team is really good, that somebody can hop into it and you'll still get there. And I think it's really positive. And there's still so much more of the season to come as well. Like, they'll have the Europeans to build towards, and China won't be there. So why not try and get a European championship? That would be pretty awesome. And then from there, take that to Worlds and just see what you can do.
Yeah, I very much look forward to watching that boat as we head towards Worlds. I think it's been a really, really exciting crew to watch as we go forward. But flipping back to the fours, Jack, on the men's side, another gold. It just seems to be doing a gold rush at the minute, but to have a gold in the 8 and then the 4, that's depth.
They were brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant today, and they were brilliant in the previous World Cup too. But even more today, it was just, they just lost the Australians by a foot last week at Henley, and I'm sure they were really annoyed with that. Like, not annoyed because they had a good race, but it's a foot that's so annoying. And they completely today, they just looked so good. They were Australians, like, racing way higher than them. They're just rowing a lot longer. There was that graphic showing the distance per stroke, and they were going like an extra meter per stroke than Australia through the whole race. And when they turned it on, it was really like a hot knife through butter, and it was just great to see them turn that around from the previous week. And it was pretty fun to see the glum-looking faces of the Aussie guys on the podium. Actually, I quite enjoyed that, because those 4 guys are all new onto the team this year, into the senior team, and it was just really impressive how they've turned up, quite new, obviously with like a attitude that they're just going to go and kick some doors in and go and beat the Olympic champions. Like, that's awesome. So really well done, guys.
Yeah, they would have been disappointed with last weekend, I think, at Henley Regatta, but I'm so glad that they've managed to turn it around. And yeah, like you said, it's just amazing. And the fact that their boat speed, what they were doing through the race, they were just doing it, and they were going faster, which is really exciting.
But it's funny because we say like, oh, they would have been disappointed, and I know, having chatted to some of them, that they were like a little annoyed just because it was a foot to lose to them over the race course at Henley. But you would never think in your first year of coming into the senior team that you'd be in a position to say, oh, I'm disappointed that we lost to the Olympic champions. I think it's so cool in that sense that, yeah, like every single race, it doesn't matter like who they're racing, they seem to have that sort of mental attitude of like, no, like, why not? Why shouldn't we? And who's going to stop us if we try? And so, yeah, watching them today was really, really cool, because it was on the race commentary. They were sort of focusing on the Aussies, and they panned back, and they were like, "Whoa, where's the GB team?" And they'd lost them. They didn't see that they had just gone straight through, which is I think was quite funny because they had literally just moved and just absolutely passed through them. It was really cool.
Commentator's curse, but definitely working in favour of the GB4. Well, no, Lola, you're absolutely right. You know, coming up at that level and that strength in your first year is something to shout about, definitely, and really exciting. And other crews really exciting to watch going forward. The one category we haven't touched on so far is the pairs. Jack, coming to you for the men. Tom and Ollie, perhaps another crew who has something to prove coming away from Henley last week to finish at the top of the podium.
Yeah, so for Ollie Wynne-Griffith, he's had to learn to row on bow side this year, and they were really impressive in the first World Cup. At Henley, I bet they were really annoyed because Tom George, poor guy, we used to kind of joke at him a bit about it, but he's lost a lot of Henley finals, and really we just want to see him win one. And so that was quite tough last week. And then today, just turn it around. And again, similar to the four, just like they were just rowing so long and so well, and just like didn't look like there was ever anything frantic happening or anything too like exciting. They just rowed really well and really long and faster than everybody. They just stuck to their thing and just it looked almost boring, but because there was no like crazy things going on, but they just rowed off and it was just really classy.
And Karen, 2 GB men's pairs in that A final, with the other finishing 5th place. The men's sweep team just seems slightly unstoppable at the minute. But again, to have those 2 boats finishing in the A final, again, a really strong showing for those guys.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I was looking today at the British rowing results, and to see, the sweep team gold is brilliant to see. And the guys who were also in the pair in the A final, they'll be looking to get up there as well. And they'll just need to go back and look at the positives, the negatives, and then just rebuild from there. But I think it's good. Like you've got the people around you that are there, and you just need to kind of work out how you're going to make yourself get there as well. But it's definitely possible, and I think it's a good place to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lola, on the women's side, a bronze medal for Esme and Emily. Again, a fantastic showing in sort of quite early in their careers.
Yeah, like really exciting. It's funny watching your friends race and sort of celebrating their successes from afar. Emma and Esme are so loud and constantly laughing, smiling, like enjoying every single training session that they have in their boat. And then sometimes like they're paddling around and you can just hear them from like halfway down the lake, and they go and they do these pieces that we're doing in training. They always whip out some pretty speedy percentages. So there was never any doubt in that sense, like watching the girls come into racing, that they weren't going to get these sort of achievements or they weren't going to get these medals. But it is a relief watching everyone in that sense. Like the payday from training has arrived. So it's cool just to watch everyone row. They're rowing with confidence, and they'll have more of that now as well. So
yeah, I think the pair did really well. Like they put out quite a quick time, in my opinion. Like it was 7 minutes, which I don't know the last time we have put a pair out that's kind of been around that time, which is good. And the Olympic champions, they were rowing in that race as well. They did a 6:56, so they're only 4 seconds off the Olympic champions, which again, we were talking about the men's 4 and how, they lost to the Olympic champions, and like these girls are really close to them. And I think and Esme have, I don't think they've been together for that long. So like, that's really good to see that that's a pair that works and it is going well. And obviously they went into the 8 last weekend for a Henley regatta. So they'll have learned a lot from there and taken that into their pair. Probably a nice little break to go into a bigger boat and, just learn lots from there. And they've clearly done that. And I think they did a great job this weekend and put out quite a quick time, which is also really good. And that would have been probably a PB for them on the water.
But it's also, as you said, like they've literally all just been racing in the 8 as well at Henley. So their prep coming into this hasn't necessarily been fully focused on how are we rowing our pair, and they haven't spent all of their sessions over the last couple of weeks building their pair. You know, they've been juggling quite a lot of boats in all of the sweepers today. And so it is impressive that just the general depth is they can chop change. And we were talking about this with the scullers earlier. Like, obviously there was, because we've had like subs in, subs out, like everyone is able to hold speed and hold a general depth of performance without it sort of being completely dependent on everything going perfectly in the build up into it, which is encouraging because we just can't control these things now with coronavirus, injuries, just general life. So no, it's really cool to see.
I just think now for them, like, hopefully they kind of can all chill out next couple of days and just actually celebrate that they did very well, and before absolutely hitting it for the last bit of the season, because everyone else is going to come back and be trying to beat them, and we don't know where everyone else is in their training cycles, and all that. A few crews that weren't there, but we've not had Great Britain, or definitely not in the Olympic class boats, winning world championships since the Rio Olympics, and it will be great to see them this year go and do some of that. So like, they've got a real opportunity. I hope they celebrate what they've done, because it's very easy to always go next day like, oh yeah, it was only a World Cup, whatever. Actually, no, that was awesome. It was a World Cup. Now you're ahead, and keep on going and win those medals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. To sort of wrap the GB section of this debrief, our crews are either there at the minute or very, very close to being where they need to be. And having had sort of a slightly difficult few years for the team, not being perhaps where they were expected to be, I think to be back on top in absolutely spectacular fashion is what we wanted for them. And I can't wait to see what they're going to go on to do next. But just to wrap up this episode of the debrief, just going to whip around and sort of highlight some of our favourite races from the weekend. So Lola, coming to you first, GB or otherwise, is there anything from this weekend that really stood out to you as being next level?
I'm going to have to stick with the quad. I'm excited for them. I think like the Chinese, they're obviously a crew to watch, but I think the British are really starting to show perhaps they can push on to them. So I'm going to stay loyal. I'm going to say the women's quad. That was my favourite race to watch, and I'm really excited to see if we can sort of push that on.
Absolutely. Jack?
Okay, so last time I think I said that my crew to watch was the Chinese quad, but they weren't very good this weekend. So I think it's the GB8. They were just street. They were classy. They just absolutely got the brush out on everyone, like completely swept them away, and I just thought it was so impressive, and I bet it felt great for them to be there, like, especially whoever's in the bow seat, Rory Gibbs in the bow seat. Just, you're so far away from everyone else. That must have just felt great to see the rest of the world behind them, and for us to watch like an 8 win by Clearwater, like, that's pretty cool.
Karen, you've got the hardest job, but anything that stands out to you from this weekend?
I mean, I've always got a big interest in the women's four, so for me, that's probably my one. I really enjoyed watching them race, and really dominant as well in there. I did also enjoy the women's single scull, because there was the German girl that just came out of nowhere, and well, I mean, she was literally nowhere to be seen on the podium. I don't know where she was, but hopefully she's all right. But yeah, I enjoyed watching that as well. It's nice to see like a different face coming out, and yeah, just taking a crack at it and it paying off, which was good to see.
Some really, really exciting racing this weekend in Lucerne. And as we look ahead to the Europeans and World Championships later in the year, I think a lot to watch, both domestically and abroad. But that's everything from us here on The Debrief. We'll see you again for the European Championships in a few weeks' time and the World Championships after that.